Live from Chicago, it's Sunday night, and the St. Louis Cardinals just got flat out embarrassed on national television. They were steamrolled by the Chicago Cubs 11 to nothing on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball here at Wrigley Field. And usually on this show, I tend to try to bring a calm overall approach. Bernie, maybe you're a little bit more riled up. I wonder if we're going to have
Yeah.
like a reversal today because what we saw in Chicago to end the series this way to drop the finale, I mean, it was just flat out embarrassing. It was a bad loss for the St. Louis Cardinals. Welcome back to Cardinal Territory. Katie and Bernie here with you, wrapping up a rather disappointing road trip, that started out with so much promise. And now here we are seeing the Cardinals really stumble through the first week of July. Bernie, your takeaways from the series, especially tonight, it was a non competitive game from the jump.
Yeah, I was really disappointed in that because, listen, they had no chance to win Friday after Miles Mikolas gave up 18 home runs or whatever it was. But their offense didn't do anything in that game either. And then Saturday, an inspirational win. I mean, a great, great comeback win. Fantastic. And you thought that maybe that would they'd ride a wave into tonight. And I tell you what, they took some really good at bats against Matthew Boyd early. So they had an opportunity to score runs and keep some pressure or put some pressure on the Cubs. But they didn't do it. I mean, the offense once again just completely what's the word? I don't want to use an impolite word, but just completely failing with runners in scoring position. And so whatever chance they had to win that game, the offense was going to have to come through because frankly, going into the series, Katie, I had very little faith that they would win either start made by Michaelis and Fedde. I really did. So this had to be they had to hope to get Fedde like a couple 3 or 4 decent innings and then get out of there. But maybe it's a 2-2, 3-2 game at that time. But it never happened. He was bad again. He looked like he had no confidence. And then the Michaelis thing was just an embarrassment to everybody. So yeah, very, very disappointing weekend, but primarily because they were a no-show tonight after what they
Yeah.
did yesterday. For all this talk, and I think you alluded to this, and I'm sorry to monopolize the time here, but I think you alluded to this in your game story off of the blowout Friday. Listen, these guys all talk about. Ali talks about it. It's a tough schedule. Our guys are tired. We're tired. We're going to get to Chicago. We're going to have a day off. And we'll be recharged and all this stuff. No, they weren't. They were flat. They were flat Friday. They were flat tonight. So I don't get it. I don't know what's up, but it's not a good look. It's pretty much anywhere you want to go in the ball club. It's not a good look right now.
Yeah, and this will be a two-part episode. We'll talk about the rotation, particularly Erick Fedde, in the first half, and we'll talk about the offense or lack thereof in the second half. But I'm with you, Bernie. Friday, that just sucked. That was a shitty game. Got to see some history though. I've never seen 8 home runs in a game before. Never happened for the Cubs and never happened for the Cardinals in terms of surrendering that many home runs. But I love Saturday's game. It was a grind. Libby didn't have it. And for the team to come through there and keep battling in a big swing from Pozo,
Right.
I totally agree. The series feels much more disappointing because after such a fun win and an inspiring win on Saturday, they were completely out of it. And yes, they took Matthew Boyd's an all-star, right? We know that. So congratulations to him and Brendan Donovan. But yeah, they had competitive at-bats. It doesn't matter when your starting pitcher can only record 4 outs and just doesn't have it again from the very start of this game. That's 3 in a row. We'll get to Erick Fedde, trust me, and what the Cardinals are going to do with that. But I thought this was just so disappointing because you want to see a team take advantage of that momentum. These games matter. How you play in July is going to dictate, honestly, the rest of your season trajectory, whether you buy or sell at the trade deadline. And it felt to me like the worst loss I've seen them play this year. It was super, super disappointing to go out there and just get smoked by your rivals. I was with you too, Bernie. I didn't feel super confident about either Miles or Fedde taking the start just based on where they had been over their past few starts. And it makes me wonder if there was a way to restructure when guys were pitching. I know I got a lot of comments about, why isn't Sonny Gray facing the Cubs? That's fair. I get it. You want your ace to be on your best team. It's also important to remember that some pitchers are creatures of routine, and Sonny Gray's routine is super important. And if you take him off that schedule, you might not get the same Sonny Gray that you would have. Changing a schedule is a two-way street. So it can't just be the Cardinals making that decision. The pitcher has to be open to it as well. I'm not saying he is or isn't. That's just my understanding of the situation is Sonny likes a routine. Could you bring in someone like a Michael McGreevy? Absolutely. Here's a comment that we heard from John Mozeliak on Friday, who I thought actually did a very nice job in being candid. And he said a lot of things where if you read between the lines, you'll know exactly what direction he's going. We asked, where the heck is Michael McGreevy? And if you missed that episode, we just had McGreevy on Friday at the last episode of Cardinal Territory. He was really good. But John Mozeliak said, Michael McGreevy is a major league pitcher. There's just not a spot open. And I'm just wondering, I wonder if there's anyone here that had the authority to change that, because there are spots open for him at this point. And Bernie, you and I are going to get into this section because this is, I think, the most charged up either of us have been about this particular issue. We got to get an ad read first from Nutrafol, and then we'll jump into, I think, what we really need to be talking about. The Cardinals need to make some rotation changes, and it starts with McGreevy. All right, so quick message from Nutrafol.
Building a hair growth routine is easy, only if you go with Nutrafol. Why is that, Todd Father?
Nutrafol, you think about hair. For me, sometimes the hair gets thinning. This thing will thicken your hair up as much as you need. You think about going to weddings or going to the beach or just hanging out with friends and you want to take photos. You want your hair to look good, and this is the best possibility for it.
Yeah, and thinning hair is different for men and women, so a one-size-fits-all approach to hair growth, that's not it, okay? They have multiple formulas for men and for women that are tailored to fit different stages of life, okay? So go check out Nutrafol. Building a hair growth routine can be easy, and you order online. There's no prescription needed as well. Free shipping, automated deliveries, and for a limited time, Nutrafol is offering the FT fam $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code FOUL, F-O-U-L. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code FOUL.
All right, so we just came up. I'm recording this pretty much right after we did our post-game session with Ollie Marmol and Erick Fedde, and it was asked what the next steps are for Erick Fedde. And I'll just go ahead and show the quote here, and I will read it as well. All right. Ollie Marmol said, we'll use tomorrow as an off day to take a step back and figure out what that looks like. He has to find a solution to what's going on. Continuing to go down this road doesn't seem beneficial at the moment. So that to me is pretty clear as day. The Cardinals will reassess the rotation, and if Erick Fedde will take his final start on the off day on Monday. Right now, he is currently scheduled to start July 12th. That is the Saturday day game against the Braves, the day before the All-Star break. Michael McGreevy is eligible to be recalled off from Memphis on July 10th. It would be very easy to swap the two. It is, in my opinion, that they should be doing this. Even if it's not a permanent change, Erick Fedde is lost right now. He made that very clear in his post-game. I want to commend him for going out, and both him and Miles, I know Cardinals fans don't really care about this. I get it. But I think they both felt a responsibility to stick up there and talk to the media and relay their message to the fans about their poor performances. And Erick Fedde did a nice job of saying, yeah, this has impacted me mentally too. I don't know what's going on. There are no excuses for it. Obviously, it sucks. But when a pitcher doesn't know what's going on and it starts to impact him mentally, you need to give him a break. So I'm in the movement. Bernie, I'm sure you are too. I don't think Erick Fedde should take that last start. I think you should see what McGreevy can do here.
No, they got to get him out of there, and they got to figure something out. And I'm going to get off. I'm actually not off topic, but I just want another layer to this. Is of course, John Mozeliak made the decision to hold on to Erick Fedde, and let's face it, that turned out to be a disaster. I argued, and I was hardly alone. Many people argued or made the point that, listen, if you let him go into the season, there's two things can happen. He'll either get hurt or his performance will deteriorate. Well, I'm glad he hasn't gotten hurt. Wouldn't wish that on anybody, but his performance has absolutely deteriorated. So I don't know what trade value he has. I think it'd be a team trying to take a lottery ticket, but this entire trade, by the way, which I liked at the time, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. This whole thing turned out really bad for the Cardinals, and Fedde has just lost it. But Katie, if you don't mind me sort of breaking the parameters a little bit, they have two rotation problems because Miles Mikolas is done too. And this frustrates me on so many levels because every time you write a good piece about the trade deadline, and we all talk about this conversations all the time. What should they do? What should they do? Like John Mozeliak made a comment in your story about our starting pitching has been solid. No, actually, it hasn't been. There's been a couple of guys that have been solid. Mikolas and Fedde have been a disaster. If you go back to May the 20th, let me just give you this one stat. In 17 starts since May the 20th, those two guys have an ERA. Well, yeah, those two guys have a combined ERA of 6.67. They've given up 20 homers. That's in 17 starts, right? The rest of the rotation during that same time has got a 3.90 ERA. Gray has been good. Libby's been pretty good. Palante's made a nice bounce back. McGreevy, but you give him a pass because he's just getting started. So you have a situation here where they say they're trying to win. It's a runway season, but as time goes on, this is July. We got to see where we are. They're basically saying we got to try to win. If we want to stay in this thing, we got to win. But then maybe we'll think about making a trade. Maybe not. How can you, if I'm not mistaken, in these 17 starts that I talked about with these two guys, the Cardinals are like 5-12, and it's not all their fault. There were some of those games where they didn't score much, but so I'm perplexed by all this, and it's not like if you DFA Miles Mikolas, it's like you save money or it costs you more. That salary he's getting this year has already been paid for. It's a guaranteed salary. Fedde doesn't make all that much anyway, but I just don't, I don't know what his trade value will be. So do you just have to eat that? I don't know. And I know what they're saying, Mo said it again to you. He says it to everybody else too. It's like, well, one of the reasons we don't bring McGreevy up and, we want to see him up here, but it's like, there's nothing behind him at Memphis. And it seems like a strange way to look at things because number one, this rotation has been healthy all season. It's not like they have injuries. There's any they've got reason to think that this big set of injuries is imminent at any minute. They've had a really, really healthy rotation. That's number one. And number two, this is one of the consequences of the Cardinals being cheap last offseason because some of the teams that have good starting pitching depth, they signed what you would call quadruple A pitchers, veteran guys trying to get their form back. They'll sign a minor league deal. You put them in Memphis. They did none of that. Mm-mm. So this is their own fault. And listen, I'll shut up after this. I don't know how anyone can take the Cardinals seriously when they have Erick, Fedde, and Miles Mikolas in the rotation. How can you even take that team seriously? I can't.
I just love it. I think we're going to go back and forth on rants here. This is going to be good. Because what is so frustrating here as we switch to this topic, which the answer to this topic bar is a time for Michael McGreevy full-time is yes, it's been time. It's so frustrating. And I'll go back to this quote from Mo. He said about McGreevy, when he's pitched in the big leagues, every time he's got the ball, he's pitched really well. Thankfully, he's a very patient, good guy. He's tolerating this. Well, the Cardinals shouldn't be tolerating this anymore.
No.
And for Mo to say that that Michael McGreevy is a major league pitcher and there are no spots for him, I firmly disagree. And I understand what the organization was thinking in March and April. That was the right call to put McGreevy in AAA to protect your depth, especially during the early months of the season, where pitching injuries are the most prevalent. I get it. It's an organization's basic responsibility to preserve its depth. It's also an organization's basic responsibility to ensure that you have enough protection. And the Cardinals did not have close to enough protection from a AAA level to cover Memphis to make sure that if something happened in the major league level, they would be okay. McGreevy was their only source of protection, so they had to use him this way. That's a fault of their own. That made sense in April and May and a little bit in June. It's July 6th. Your season is hinging on how this team plays in July. Your whole messaging of this season was, we need to find out who we can build around. We want the young guys to have some performance and see who can help the team. Michael McGreevy is your third best pitcher. He has been all season, regardless of where he's played. He's played most of the season in Memphis. He's still in Memphis right now, and he should not be. It is no longer April. You're no longer covering depth. Yes, you're weighing a risk a little bit if you bring him up, because you clearly don't see any of your options in AAA other than him as serviceable. That is your own fault as an organization.
It is.
It's time to have McGreevy up here. And Erick Fedde and Miles Mikolas too, but I have Erick Fedde's stats available right in front of me right now. His last 3 outings, 16 earned runs over 10 innings. The Cardinals have lost those games by a collective score of 26-0, Bernie. And the organization keeps trotting someone who is clearly not right out there, and they have a better solution for short-term and long-term in AAA right now. He is our 2021 first-round pick. No organization treats their first-round pick like that. What are we doing? McGreevy should take this start coming up next weekend.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, you can make the case they should have gone with that earlier, but I do understand it in a way, because Miles Mikolas was pitching pretty well up until late May. So I can get that. But this thing all just went to hell in June. And they're very, very slow to react. At some point, they should have either moved Fedde aside, have him skip a couple starts, have Mikolas skip a couple starts. And that's a way to get, Fedde, that's a way to get McGreevy up here at least more than they have in the past. But this is what happens when you go into a season where you're really undecided. You're like the undecided voter in an election. I can't stand hearing about undecided voters, because it's like, you got to know who you're going to vote for already. What are you waffling about? So the Cardinals are waffling. They're the undecided voter. It's like, well, we got the runway. Oh, we want to give opportunities to young players. We got to see what our young guys can do, except for Michael McGreevy, because we're going to keep two older guys who have nothing left. It just makes no sense. We think we can win. Mo was kind of dropping, hints or suggestions back in spring training. We think we can be pretty good. We think we can have a good team. We think we can be entertaining. He was basically also saying, we think we can make the playoffs. He didn't say it directly, but that's what he was intimating. And it's like, well, how can you do that when you have 2 guys in your rotation that are pulling the whole thing down? And whenever the way they're pitching now, when they go to the mound, it's just about a guaranteed loss. If it's not guaranteed, the odds are very, very, very much against you winning the game. They've become both of those guys are a huge liability. They should have DFA'd Mikolas Saturday morning, but I guess they're going to show him some respect. But he's Mo's guy, so Mo's not going to DFA Mikolas. Mikolas has had, you talk about leading a charmed life, right? John Mazzella gives a contract extension that turned out to be really bad. And when any other organization would DF a guy like that, based on the fact he hasn't been good. He was not good in 23. He was worse in 24, and he's even worse this year. Why is he still here? Because you made a bad contract decision, and you won't acknowledge that your decision was a total failure. Well, what does that do for your manager, who fans want to blame for everything? What does that do for the other players in the clubhouse? When you're sticking with 2 people who fail repeatedly, how can you expect anybody to take you seriously when you basically imply that we're trying to win? How can anyone take you? Have no credibility. You have very little left, because some of the other guys are doing very well. But I don't know, man. As you can tell, I'm pretty jacked up about this.
I know we made a pact to not be super emotional, and here we are both pretty annoyed about the whole situation.
We'll see, because I had to bring Mikolas in too, So anyway, but it's true, man. It's not, and by the way, it's nothing personal. These guys don't want to be bad. I know that they feel terrible, but
oh my gosh, Miles was so upset Friday, and both these games are national games, so you don't get to see it on the post game show. But man, Miles, that sucked. That sucks for him. That sucks for Fedde. They know it. They know
Right.
they're going out there and they're not pitching well. They know they're letting the team down. They know fans don't want to hear it from them. I mean, they have to perform. They're being paid to perform. And if you want to be a contending team and you have better options right now in AAA and you're still continuing to put up outings like this, it is super frustrating. And I think the Cardinals are very much at a point where they need to make a decision. And I think they will come Tuesday. We should have a better understanding about the rotation. But Bernie, I need to calm down because we need to do our DraftKings segment.
Okay.
So
this is a new one, so I may I know what my responsibility is in this. I may do it a different way, but I think DraftKings and everyone else will like the way I do it.
I hope so. The pressure is on me to present.
No, because they want me to make some picks, but the DraftKings they haven't said anything for tomorrow's games as far as I know, but I have enough experience with this. I can explain how it works, and I also can explain things that they should look for.
All right.
You think that would get a thumbs up?
Let's do it. Let's start.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna launch right into our player spotlight presented by DraftKings. All right, so someone noticeably absent here at Wrigley Field over the weekend was Mr. Nolan Arenado. He is dealing with some right shoulder bicep area impingement that he got on Friday, taking, I can't remember which at bat it was, but it was an in-game at bat, felt something pull. He was not in the lineup on Saturday. He was a late scratch. He tried to lobby to play in the lineup today, but was really not feeling well. So the Cardinals are hoping with the off day on Monday, he'll be back in the lineup on Tuesday. They do not believe an IL stint will be necessary. Nolan and I talked this afternoon, and he agrees. Just a rough week for him with the finger that's still bothering him. It's still pretty swollen. Now you got some right shoulder pain. These guys are banged up. And it was funny. I don't know if it was like funny, funny, but like funny, oh, you're right. Talking to a couple of the writers upstairs as we watched the fifth inning or so, and we looked at this infield and we thought, this is about the quality of infield we would see if Nolan Arenado was traded. And for the sake of everyone's mental health, I'm really glad that didn't happen because it was not a pretty infield. So the Cardinals miss him defensively at third base. I know he's been going through it offensively. He has not looked super great over the last month. I thought June was better, obviously, but they really missed his bat as evidenced by another shutout tonight. So Nolan Arenado, our player spotlight, for everyone's sake, we hope he is back in the lineup on Tuesday when the Cardinals kick off their final homestand of the first half, a 3-game set against the Nationals and 3 against the Braves. So as we launch into our Pick 6 sponsored by DraftKings. So for those who've been familiar with Pick 6, pretty easy. Hit more or less on whatever you think is happening over these props are from over the weekend. Really hard to get this one done because we had a holiday weekend schedule.
Right.
So this is a very simple, easy game. If you're going to go pick 2 players for these props, who are you going with here?
Well, what I want to do is I want to explain something I actually did do last week to explain it, right? Because the screen we have, it's like those games have already been played, and I didn't pick anyone. So if I pick someone who hit a home run, everyone's going to think that I was like kind of cheating a little bit. So I don't want to do that. All right, I explained it this way, and again, the game is easy to make choices, and you'll have a lot of fun doing it. I really enjoy playing it. But anyway, here's an example. Remember Tuesday night, the Cardinals had to go against Paul Skeens in Pittsburgh, right? So I wanted to look, okay, who's the best chance of a guy getting a hit against Skeens? DraftKings set the higher or lower at 0.5 hits for Brendan Donovan. And I said, look, Skeens is great. Surely Brendan Donovan can get a hit. And that's the way I played him. I think, and I played another thing that didn't work, but that's kind of how it works. I wanted to give you a true life example of in my own experience. And one thing I want to say too about DraftKings really quick is that when you download the app and you look at what you can choose from, and then if you click on the player's profile, DraftKings actually helps you out by giving you information that's relevant to whatever that higher or lower number is that's been set for that day. So just get in there and check it out. You'll really have a ball, and it's easy to figure out. It's not always easy to pick the right guy, but that's sports, right? Who knows? But at least you'll have some information at your fingertips.
So that's our Pick Six DraftKings. You can download the DraftKings Pick Six app now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick Six from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right. Let's get back into it. We got over our angst about the pitching, so let's rile everyone up again with some discussion about the offense. Cardinals offense has been shut out 6 times in the last 11 games. It's really frustrating to watch. We'll preface this with, we know Arenado's hurt and playing through some things. Contreras was banged up. Newbar banged up. Everyone's banged up. It's July 6th. They're grinding through it. Okay. What this offense performance has shown me lately is just how much of an impact Ivan Herrera has made in this lineup. They have virtually zero production without him right now. It's a little bit alarming, actually.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, you look at the RBI totals that guy had based on the number of games he played. It's pretty amazing. I mean, he's a money hitter. He really, really is. And, they miss him against lefties because they don't hit lefties very well. And we've all talked and written about that. But Ivan Herrera, the beautiful thing about him is he's even harder on right-handed pitchers. There's no platoon disadvantage whatsoever. Platoon split disadvantage. So they miss him a lot. But I will say this, and I was adding up some numbers from the Pittsburgh series and then the 2 games the Cardinals lost this weekend, and guys that they needed to hit just didn't hit. I mean, Donovan was 3 for 22. Burleson was 2 for 20. And this is plus actually you can add Donovan 1 for 3 on Sunday night. Mason Wynn did not hit. He was 1 for 14 in these games that I referred to. Newtbar 2 for 14, and it goes right on down the list. I don't mean to bore you all with numbers, but the guys, it's tough when you don't have Arenado. It's really tough you don't have Herrera, and you didn't have a 100% Wilson Contreras. But these other players are in the lineup for a reason because they're supposed to be able to hit. And they can't disappear when it gets tough. And this is not a character thing. I'm not implying that. But maybe this is the limitation of this offense. Maybe the offense is what it is. When they're good, they score 12 runs. When they're bad, they're really bad. The Cardinals are 16-19 since May the 30th, right? And in 15 of their last 19 losses since May the 30th, 15 of the 19 losses, they've scored no more than 2 runs. So,
I'll do it.
I mean, no wonder they have a losing record, during that time. You got 2 rotation pieces that are terrible, and you have a lot of your key guys not really doing anything, not that much, So that part's got to turn around because there's no one. Yeah, Herrera will be back after the All-Star break, and he'll come to the rescue to a point, but that's a ways off, still a little ways off. So, but these other guys need to step it up a little bit. And listen, they would be the first to tell you that, So anyway.
And they'll have. It's an accountable group. It is an accountable group. I've said that from the start, and it's really coming to show now as I think the Cardinals go through a real tough kind of 2 weeks of adversity here. Some injury updates that will hopefully help the offense. Again, we talked about Arenado, Ivan Herrera. John Mozeliak said on Friday is about a week and a half away from starting a rehab assignment. So that's a little bit sooner than my projection of when he would return. And he is a candidate to return to the lineup after the All-Star break. Jordan Walker is doing some extended work in Springfield. The reason that the Cardinals chose Springfield over Memphis is because of the instructors down in Springfield. And I think there's some overall just better facilities down there at the moment. And as Jordan Walker works back from appendicitis, he's also taking some time to really break down some swing changes that they've made, work on some approach things. This is the time to do it for Jordan Walker because with the Cardinals needing to produce desperately offensively, you bring him back in and he's trying to fix his swing at the major league level. It's not going to go well. So take some extra time in the minors. There's no rush to bring him up on your injury rehab assignment. Work with the hitting coaches down in Springfield. Hitting coordinator Russ Steinhorn does a really nice job down there. and work your way back in. So this is kind of a favorable break for Jordan Walker and the Cardinals right now. And yeah, hopefully those two right-handers get back soon. The Cardinals, as we've talked about, Bernie, not super great against lefties. I mean, Matt Boyd just, again, got right through him. So I haven't checked the probables for the Nationals. I don't really know if they have any idea what's going on right now.
Well, they just fired the GM and the manager today. So
hey, you know what, Cardinals fans? It could always be worse. The Nationals, of course, have the #1 pick in the MLB draft in 6 days and don't have a general manager or a manager. They actually haven't even announced the interim manager yet. I think they're going to get there, they hope. So if we're going to leave on a funny ha-ha note, obviously never funny when people lose their jobs, but at least they're not the Nationals today, right? At least you're not the Nationals.
At least they're not the Nationals. And going forward, you know, it's so imperative. Because you mentioned the draft, it's so imperative, like whoever the Cardinals draft, let's say they draft an offensive player. The Cardinals need some dudes. They don't have dudes. They have good players. They have a few really good players. They don't have dudes. When they walk to the plate, everyone, if they're in if they're on the road, they're in one of the Central Division places. Guy walks to the plate. There's two guys on. There's almost like a murmur in the crowd because he's a dude. It's like, oh, this guy's really dangerous. No disrespect to all the Cardinals, but there's very little danger in their lineup. There just isn't, and they're way too inconsistent. The Cardinals need dudes. I've covered this team since 1985. They've always had dudes. They do not have dudes anymore. They have some good players, but good players don't do it. You look at the Cubs, elite players.
Pete Crow Armstrong gets me fired up. And the Cardinals don't have a star like that. And it's disappointing. It's not to say they can't draft and develop one. They used to do a very good job in doing so, obviously. But it was really evident to me, Bernie. First of all, I think Wrigley Field, quick side comment, is my favorite place to watch a game. It was such an engaging crowd environment holiday weekend. Cardinals, Cubs. Cubs are playing some fantastic baseball. And every time I watch Pete Crow Armstrong come to the plate, and I guess Michael Busch, he's a guy, I guess.
Yeah.
Couldn't get him out all series, but Pete Crow Armstrong fires up the crowd like no other. And it's been a while since the Cubs had that kind of player. The Cardinals, too, they really need to develop a star. But that's time.
I know. Yeah, and you just real quick, you look at the Cubs, and Suzuki's having a great year, just a great year. And Pete Crow Armstrong's outstanding. Michael Young's one of the best players in baseball. And you know, one of the things is when you have a couple dudes, then it's easier for someone else to become a dude and say, what are you talking about? You're using the word dude too much. Well, you know, if you've got Michael Young in your lineup, not Michael Young, I'm sorry. You have him, the dude from Kyle Tucker. When I'm saying Michael Young, it's late, Katie. What can I say?
Oh, trust me, I'm barely keeping my eyes open right now.
You know, when you have, you know, Michael Young and then, you know,
We're falling apart. It's okay.
When you have Kyle Tucker, you go get him. That makes it easier on Pete Crow Armstrong, right? It just takes some of the pressure off. And then with Pete Crow Armstrong and Kyle Tucker, it just absurdly great this year. That takes some of the heat off of Suzuki. And so he's relaxed. He's like, well, I don't have to be the guy. And all of a sudden, he's driven in with 75, 76 runs already. All of a sudden,
he's a guy.
So he's become a dude because he didn't have to be the dude. They got two other dudes. It makes it easier for him to be, okay, I'll be the third dude. The pressure's off, you know? So there's a psychological component to this. And next time we do Cardinal Territory, I'll make sure I'll get the players' names straight. But what can I say?
We all know what the standards are for this show are, okay?
Right.
It's 11 p.m. on Sunday night. Sunday night baseball, I do love anytime the Cardinals on prime time. Sunday night baseball on the final night of a 10-game, 3-city trip, followed by a 1-hour rain delay, and then a 3-hour and 10-minute game. I'm out on that. Thank goodness there's an off day tomorrow because I'm on fumes. Even more.
I texted Mason Woo was cracking me up. He was ESPN mic'd him up. And he had the fifth inning where they scored all those runs. And so the fifth inning, I'm exaggerating on purpose. That fifth inning, that bottom of the fifth lasted like 2 hours. And so Mason Wynn's talking to these guys the entire time. So it was right before the final batter. And Mason Wynn says, bad pace. Bad
Bad
pace.
pace.
Talking about how slow the game was moving. And I think Carl Ravitch said, you said it, like we didn't say it, you said it, but I think Mason Wynn spoke for anybody watching that game.
Certainly spoke for the writers up at the good old press box.
That's right.
Field.
That's right.
Moral of the story for this podcast episode: Cubs doing a lot of things right, Cardinals not so much. St. Louis can change its course with a conversation about the rotation, and they should, in my opinion, make those changes. It's Michael McGreevy time. It's been that. If you want to compete and you want to give this team or this fan base something to be energized about at the rest of the season in August and September, if you are going to go out there and say how you play in July is going to dictate if you buy or sell, put your best possible chance to win every day in July and play like it. It really is not that difficult. So just do it.
So,
all right, Bernie.
They got it. Yeah, it's time to shake it up that way. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's time. It's time for you and I to maybe decompress, calm down, meditate. I don't know. But I do know that we'll be back with 3 episodes before the All-Star break /draft. Lots to talk about. I'll be with you guys for a trade deadline update from my conversations with John Mozeliak over the weekend. And then Bernie and I will help break down 3 games against the Nationals and 3 games against the Braves. And we're right back to it. Cardinals fans, get some sleep. Flush this one if you can. And before we go, a huge shout out once more. Congratulations to the Cardinals National League All-Star pick, Brendan Donovan. What a deserving guy. Just thrilled for him and his family to be able to experience this at Truist Park. So deserving. Such a great season. Such a great dude. Shout out Brendan Donovan. There we go. Ending on something positive on what was a very show.
Good job.
All right, Cardinal Territory fans, we will talk to you next week. For Bernie, I'm Katie. See ya.